All right. Well, today we have Gigi Hopkins and Andrea Stunz with us. So, welcome, ladies.
Yes, thank you, Jonathan, for having us.
Yes, I am excited about this conversation, and I don't want to waste any more time because there is an incredible resource that the two of you have worked together on in creating, which is this 40 Days of Healing for Wives that has just released. And I wanted to invite you both to share certainly about the course and what's in the course. But first, I would love to hear more of the backstory of, okay, how did we get to this point? Why is this kind of a resource important? So, Gigi, can we start with you as our Wives Care Director to give a little bit of the backstory on how we got to this point of developing this course?
Well, Jonathan, you have challenged me in this project, and it's been a few years actually, but I took you up on it a couple years ago, and God provided Andrea to be my amazing editor and contributor to this project. So it's something that we've had a desire to have available for wives. We already have it for the men. For how long has it been that you've had 40 days?
Well, that whole content actually goes back more than a dozen years. So,
Right?
yeah,
Yes. So it's about time.
yeah.
we, by faith, I took that step, and God has provided all along the way. It's taken 2 years, and without Andrew, it'd be five. So, so yeah. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, well, and so first of all, maybe we even need to take a further step back and say, what is it about wives care that is so important for wives who are dealing with experiencing betrayal in their marriage relationship, sexual betrayal?
Yeah. So this is the 40-day e-course is an opportunity for someone to be getting really helpful foundational information for healing after sexual betrayal. So, oftentimes people are not ready to join a group and even talk to somebody up front. So it gives a person that space to just process what they've been living through and start doing some healing work, because we've created some simple exercises for the ladies to go through. So every day for 40 days in the privacy of your home, you get good input and education and information that will help you take next steps.
You know, we saw a similar thing with the 40 days of purity for men is that a lot of guys we like to say they want to dip their toe in. There's a sense in which, man, I don't know if I'm ready to, walk into a group with other men or tell my full story to somebody else, but I I don't want to keep living the way I've been living and the pain that I've got and the addiction or whatever. And so the 40 days course allows this kind of self-paced uh, entry point for being able to say, what are the things that I need to know that I don't currently know in order for me to live in a different way? And so in a similar way, I think with the wives course, it's a little bit of that same way of being able to say, I I don't want to keep carrying the pain the way I'm carrying it and how this is just destroying my life. But I don't know if I'm ready to tell my full story to another group of people or all of that. So um, can you talk a little bit, either one of you, on that issue of why it is important for there to be resources and space for a woman to be able to process the pain, the trauma, the shame, all of those elements that feel so scary and unfamiliar?
Yeah, I could talk on that real quick, and then Gigi can elaborate. But for me in my journey, and I think oftentimes what we see in wives who have been who have discovered their husband's problematic sexual behaviors, it is a blind side. It's not always the case, but oftentimes we didn't know what was going on. So where that's different with the men, because the men obviously knew what they were doing, it's
Mhm.
not a surprise to them, but we are often surprised. And so I see wives care as a handle, a hand that grabs us and our hand and kind of helps pull us out of this pit that we didn't even ask to be in, that we didn't even know existed. And so this 40 days e-course, I think I believe it's going to be a significant handle for women to grab onto when they're just like, what is even happening?
Mhm.
What is even going on here? I don't even know.
Yeah. Gigi, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, I just want to say that the 40 days, Andrea and I have had our journeys of healing, right? And it's born out of this community that God has grown called Wives Care. At Be Broken, we have over 500 ladies that have gone through the Wives Care groups. We've been doing this for 8 years. So we've learned a lot
Hmm.
about what this is about, how to help one another. So it's coming out of years of experience and knowledge, that has been acquired over time. And I think it's significant to be helped by those who have been there.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the course a little bit. Obviously, in a short half-hour podcast, we can't give every single detail of a 40-day course, but I'd love for you all to be able to, and Andrea, maybe you can talk about just kind of the layout of the course and what are the key elements that are focused on over the 40 days.
I would love to. So, one of the things that I love about this course is how it has evolved over the 2 years. We started with Gigi's dream and, what just kind of a guideline. And then it has just evolved into, I think, exactly what God meant for it to be, which is a great illustration of our lives as well. So, it's been a very exciting project to be able to work on. During the course, we have eight topics. So there's 40 days. So then there's 8 topics with 5 kind of
Lessons, yeah.
general, lessons within each of those 8 topics. Some of the topics are, processing hard emotions, essential tools that we need for healing, self-care boundaries, and there's just a lot. It's the basics, but a little bit deeper into the basics of what we need when we first discover, or it can even be a refresher if we've already been through this for a while. So good content. Each day includes a short lesson, a a truth to hold on to, a provision along the path, and a short, doable, um, experiential exercise. So we encourage journaling, we encourage some art, some creativity that's important in our journey, and some prayerfully and carefully curated resources. So we have put some resources in each day. Each day will take about 10 to 20 minutes, depending on your capacity and just how long you have. You can go through it quickly. You can take it a bite at a time. I love the self-paced aspect of it. So not a ton of information, but there's plenty of information to guide you, and educate you and take you on that next step. Also excited about the downloadable, um, the print at home companion guide. So we think that's really important to go along with this 40-day journey. We have found, and I think it's probably scientifically proven that, probably the caveat there, but I think I'm right. Is that the action of actually writing things out and putting pen to paper, putting our thoughts down in a tangible way, helps us embody those emotions,
Mhm.
those feelings, and it uses a different part of the brain that helps us engage. So, um, with our experience, and it's also the journal is also going to be a great tool to refer back to. Oftentimes we don't remember a lot of what we go through in the very beginning, trauma brain, you know, um, and so it's nice. It'll be a nice tool to have.
Mhm. Yeah, and whether it's scientifically proven or not, it's been anecdotally proven in our ministry with wives and with men. We've seen journaling be extremely powerful, and just like you said, it slows you down. You use a different part of your brain. One thing I think also is important to note just about the kind of the format of this course is that the ladies do not get all 40 days at once. It actually comes daily for 40 days. So how important is that they just don't get all of this information and then they got to kind of work through it on their own?
Jonathan, that is super important because pacing, it's one of our lessons, or maybe a couple of our lessons in healing, that we need to find a pace that is healing to us. And sometimes we're hungry to just really know all about this, and it's overwhelming, right? So we've been careful in designing this course that it's comprehensive. So it really covers uh, a lot of the essentials that you need to learn for about the healing journey, but it's not overwhelming. So one day at a time is how we live. That's how Jesus taught us. He said uh, we don't know tomorrow. Tomorrow has enough cares of its own, right? So
Mhm.
we need to really live today. So I love that pace, that it's just a lesson at a time. And I just uh, following up here with what Andrea said 10 to 20 minutes, it's for the core lesson. So the extras that we give, like the resources, the curated resources that Andrea mentioned, that's something you can check on your leisure, you know. But just separating 10 to 20 minutes a day will make a big difference over 40 days.
Right, and if I could tag on to that real quickly, the e-course is not an it's you're gonna be doing that as an individual. So the goal is, I mean, ultimately we heal in community, we don't break in isolation, and we're not gonna heal in isolation. So we're gonna need that relationship. So the e-course is intended to push our ladies into community. So that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah. And again, that to Gigi's point on pacing, it allows that to be done at a pace that is doable. One other thing I would say on that too is there might even be some ladies that are listening that says, "My goodness, if I got something one day every day for 40 days, that even feels overwhelming." Well, it's okay. The course gets sent out to you daily for 40 days. But when you enroll in the course, you have lifetime access to that. So even if, let's say, you get to day 4 or 5 and you go, "I'm hyperventilating already just on the 4 or 5 days that I've done here," and then all of a sudden, day 6, 7, 8, 9, they start coming out, you can go, "Hey, I can go back to day 6 when I'm ready," or what, So there's a sense in which, while the course gets delivered to you daily over 40 days, there's no pressure to feel like you've got to complete the course in a consecutive 40 days. I think that's important for anybody listening to hear, that the content is what's important for you. How you're engaging that and how you're actually working through the material is so important.
Jonathan, I have something to say on this too, because if you do the course, say before you enter into a group, right? Um, you still have the course, like you said, a lifetime. I believe that this course can easily be used after our group experience. because it takes things to a different level when you're doing this with others and you're sharing the exercises with one another and all of that. So I think it's versatile in that way, that it can be used before and after group, in a group context, or even just reviewing.
And that's kind of the philosophy we've had with all of the 40 days courses that we've created, because we've got a 40 days course for men. We've got a 40 days course for women who struggle with their own, sexual brokenness. And the philosophy in all of that has been, it can be used on kind of the front end or the back end of those community experiences. We've even had a lot of guys that they've formed a group and gone through the 40 days course simultaneously as part of their group experience. So again, this is not content that's detached from community, but it's also not something that says you can only engage it if you're in community right now. It's meant to just help the individual to be able to understand the process that they need to go through, the things that they're going to need to address in order to really experience healing. I'd like to talk about that again, just from kind of a goal orientation. Um, what is sort of the end goal, or maybe the end hope, that you have for a wife that would engage this 40-day course?
I think it goes back to the goal that I feel is mine, and I think our team, for Wives Care. We want women to leave with a value for their healing. Um, I had an experience when I went to my in person group early in my journey, that I saw women come and they would come for a couple times and never come back. And
Mm,
that just was painful to watch, because I was just thinking, where are they going? What support are they going to right now if they don't have this, right? And so I feel like, as I came into later, to be broken in Wives Care, I really didn't want that to happen to the ladies. So everything we've created, we want to show you how precious it is to invest in your healing journey. So we hope that 40 days will show you. And the way we're going to do this, it's interesting, because we have 10 testimonies, unfiltered testimonies from our community, that will be that are going to be shared with you, um, with voices that belong to our community, just so that you can see the proof that focusing on your healing, investing in your healing, will bear fruit that you will never regret.
mhm.
We want people inspired to do more, whatever that may be. And we would be honored if they choose to uh, do groups and enter into the Wives Care amazing community. But whatever it is that God leads people to do, we want them to heal, because God has more for us than pain and trauma, right?
Mhm.
So that's really the goal. There are better days ahead.
Andrea, would you add anything to that?
I would just add that from my personal experience, what one of the goals I think of Wife's Care, or what it did for me, um, kind of just an overarching value of Wife's Care, is that it's for me. It's for the wife. Of course, we care about marriage. Marriage is valuable, but the Wife's Care, what we do, is about the wife's healing, and
Mhm.
that was super valuable to me when I first started in my healing journey.
So one of the questions I would have is, we know that when we're dealing with trauma, that when a person has experienced that trauma, when a wife has experienced that betrayal trauma, we're talking about somebody that is in a delicate emotional state, right? And things can be volatile with the emotions. So what happens? What can a wife do if, as she's going through this course, something triggers her? Because we've talked about, this is a course that she's doing sort of on her own. But what happens if there's a segment of one day that it just brings up something and she feels triggered, is there help for her that she can get if she feels triggered while she goes through this course?
Well, we right in the first segment of the 5 lessons, right? We do address emotional regulation and a tool for breathing and grounding yourself, which is kind of ABCs of healing, right? So that's something that's available uh, for the ladies. Beyond that, um, I mean, that's because it's an e-course. It's something that they're going to, and let me tell you, for this journey, we need to take initiative for ourselves, right? So they're going to have to be proactive in learning how to take care of themselves emotionally, right?
And we do touch on during the course. We do talk about how important it is to have a trusted network. Some
Oh
support, a support system. So that is covered, and early on in the course, I believe. Um, Gigi, would you want to talk about the monthly?
Well, before you even get there, I want to say also that we have within our Wives Care team and network, we have coaches and counselors. And so I want the ladies to hear that it's not as if they're going to be, abandoned to this course. And like, you really got to get through the full 40 days. And outside of that, you don't have community, you don't have counseling, you don't have coaching. It's like, there's a lot of things that can be simultaneous. So I think if a wife gets triggered, we want her to know there are other resources available for her that we can help her to get that immediate care that she needs for whatever that trigger is.
yeah, absolutely. We encourage people, we need to reach out. That's so key to the healing journey, right?
But then talk also about what we've created in conjunction with this course to provide some personal connection along the way.
Sure. And just before we do that, another resource that is available twice a month is the Wives Care Basics webinar, which is something that you can join and already feel like you're not alone. It goes beyond just the daily emails. So that's something that upon being triggered and feeling very alone, we encourage you to sign up. It's free of charge, and it's an honor to be there twice a month for the ladies, right, and for you. So yeah, so we also have one of our values at Be Broken. We have 6 of them, is to be personal in our communication. So we really care about the personal connection and contact. Um, so I will be making available some slots, a couple a month, for those that have questions along the way in the 40 days. And you can just register online and be a part of this group Q&A that we have. And I imagine I'll pull Andrea into this somehow. But yeah, so that's something that is going to be available so that you're not left to your own with as questions pop up, and we would get to meet you.
And we do a similar thing, like with the 40 days for men. And it's been really helpful for guys that take advantage of that to just be able to say, hey, it's nice to know that if I do have a question that comes up, I don't have to just like go Google it or just try to, send an email or have to set up some kind of counseling appointment. It's like, oh, there's this opportunity regularly to be able to plug into these group sessions that are connected to this course where I can go to find help for those, answers to those questions. Um, what I want to leave some space here for both of you to just be able to speak to that wife out there who is in that place of turmoil and confusion and just wondering what is my next step, and just a message of hope and maybe why this particular course could be really, really helpful for that next step for her. So, Andrea, would you want to
Sure.
go first?
One of the things that I would love to share, number one, is that Jesus is a part of this journey, and that is our faith may waver because of this trauma. That is normal for us to have questions about, why did God let this happen? But taking Jesus along with us in this journey is key for us in what we've done throughout Be Broken, right? Throughout all of the ministry of Be Broken. But just, you're not alone, and you don't have to be alone. And we hope and pray that you're not alone, and we're here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I love that Andrea said to you that you're not alone. And that is a message we want to make it really clear. There's something really isolating about being betrayed and by your life partner, your covenant partner, that is isolating, shaming, and that's where the enemy would have us stay, is in this shame space. So we're just inviting you through this e-course to take our hands, as Andrea said, so that you can walk into the healing God has for you. This is not going to be the end of you. Jesus has power to redeem, and yes, he's all over. Whatever we do, Jesus is central, right? So we're going to walk with you through this. And then I want to say something I heard in my church this week that I thought was powerful. Sometimes we pray for deliverance, but God wants to develop us. And he uses pain and suffering to bring you to a different level in your growth. And really, another term is in your sanctification process and becoming more like him. And we all in our group, in our team, Wives Care team of leaders, we can testify. You will hear the 10 stories of how ways that God has redeemed and healed the deepest parts that we didn't even know needed healing. So I love this verse from Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." We believe.
Mm-hmm. That's really good. Well, before we wrap up, is there anything else about the course that we either failed to mention or that you want to make sure gets said before we end our conversation here?
I can't think of anything. We would love your feedback. If you take the course, give us feedback. Let us know what you think and reach out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to say thank you, Gigi and Andrea, for all the hard work that you all put into this. I think it's definitely a labor of love, and it comes through. And I think this is a fantastic resource for wives who are looking to take that next step of their healing journey. And so we are going to put the link to the course in the show notes. And you can also just go to bebroken.org/wives. That's where all of our wives care information is. But again, Gigi and Andrea, thank you for building this course, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to get to work on this, and it is God's project. I can honestly say it's God's project.
Yeah. It's just an honor. We never dreamed, of all the things that God would lead us to do. So we're just so delighted. Thank you for having us, Jonathan.
You bet. Well, listeners and viewers, we're always glad that you are with us. And like I said, we're going to put a lot of information in the show notes. We're going to give you the link specifically to the course and to our Wives Care ministry. And we want to help you take your next best step to wholeness in Christ. And so please reach out to us. And we look forward to seeing you back here again next time on the Pure Sex Radio program. Take care.